Large truckish SUVs continue to saturate today's car market, and the Sequoia perhaps deserves the title most interesting, and that's for some good reasons and some bad ones. I'll go over those today, along with the highlights of what's new for 2023. The big news is that they ditched the 5.7-liter V8 for the 3.4-liter twin-turbocharged V6 hybrid powertrain. Though they also got rid of other things in what appears to be an attempt to make this more closely related to the Tundra, likely to reduce cost. So that actually means we lose independent rear suspension. And it was at that moment that I gained an unavoidable background noise akin to a dentist drill. My apologies. So the Sequoia lost independent rear suspension, and if you're thinking the average person won't even know it, I think a deaf 15-year-old poodle on gabapentin could tell the difference in this case. We also quietly saw Toyota get rid of the lockable Torsen limited slip differential that enabled the previous truck to have a selectable full-time four-wheel drive system. But at the same time, it gained power, efficiency, interior refinement, tech, and more. But before I dive in, if you enjoy fun, detailed car content without fluff, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications. One of the big standout attributes of the Sequoia is its towing capabilities. You kind of get a hint of that with the absurdly large mailbox-crushing tow mirrors that are actually an available package, and it can tow up to about 9,500 pounds. But what I think is more interesting, in the least capable spec, it still tows 9,000. You know, there are large SUVs like the Ford Expedition and the Jeep Wagoneer that can tow numbers like these, but unlike most other large SUVs and trucks, this doesn't need to be outfitted with a specific final drive ratio or package in order to do so. This also comes with the receiver around back with 4 and 7-pin connectors, trailer brake controller, and of course sway control. Additionally, the hybrid system should allow the engine to have to work less when getting a heavy trailer up to speed. Although with what I've heard, the hybrid system doesn't exactly provide much assistance when up at higher speeds, so until I tow something with it, I'm not gonna say if that helps the system stay out of boost on the highway. While I'm not convinced that the hybrid was exactly necessary, especially after driving a non-hybrid Tundra, if I'm evaluating the powertrain as a whole, it does offer great response with strong acceleration and a lot of refinement. It never really feels like it's lugging the engine or gear hunting. It always just seems to know what to do, though at low speeds, I sometimes noticed a jerkiness. When it comes to the raw numbers, we're looking at 437 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque. Again, that is standard. And for more details on the Sequoia, I will link my full review below. All will also come with the same well-calibrated 10-speed automatic transmission. And while that's great, I do wish that the gas mileage was maybe a little bit better considering it's a hybrid. But Toyota will admit that the electrification here was to improve performance more than to reduce fuel cost. My next reason seemed to be the source of criticism from some, and that is the passenger space and interior as a whole. Yes, third row headroom is slightly compromised due to the battery and axle situation, but I am 6'3" and can fit in all 3 rows with legroom to spare. That is impressive, and mainly thanks to the ability to slide the third row fore and aft. And if you would like to experience a Sequoia for yourself, consider Royal South Toyota in Bloomington, Indiana, the friendly dealership that let me test drive this one for the review. The staff there are honest, and they are heavily invested in the community. If you're in the market, check them out. I also want to lump into this reason the cabin. So it's much more modern, obviously, but that also includes higher quality materials and a good fit and finish. It may be a little less impressive at an $80,000 sticker price, but it at least feels as expensive as it is. And road noise is also kept under control, thanks in part to an acoustic windshield, and if you go capstone, you get acoustic front windows as well. It also comes standard with a fair amount of features too, like a full digital gauge cluster, proximity unlock and lock, a sunroof, lumbar control, a 360 view camera, which really comes in handy with this tiny windshield vessel body combo, and all come with a flip-up rear glass, which is partially sad as the old Sequoia had a power rear window back there. When you combine that with the healthy powertrain and the big size fit for 3 rows and towing capacity, this would be a phenomenal boat dad SUV. whether you're just going around town or on vacations. And the next thing I admire about the new Sequoia is that it retains every last bit of the testosterone-filled personality on the outside and inside. It feels massive. Everything has sharp edges. You have simple analog controls like toggle switches and dials. In some areas, the chunky aesthetic gets laughable, like the 14-inch screen that will come on almost all Sequoias. While it does have a high resolution and the new infotainment system is vastly improved over the previous one, the icons and text on this are so blown up that the car in the next lane over can see which podcast you're listening to. Another piece to the truck yeah puzzle is the exterior look, which comes off bold but with a little more restraint than the Tundra. I like the real vents, the headlights, and the standard LED fog lights that take on a mini light bar form. This is subjective though, so let me know what you think. Do you like the old or new truck's look more? Which brings me to another big pro to the Sequoia, and that's configurability. There is a high step-in price, but we have a healthy variation in flavors, from the well-equipped but straightforward cloth seat having SR5 base, or you can equip that with the firm riding and sporty TRD Sport package. You can ball out on a TRD Pro with the Fox Racing suspension, audacious interior, and various other rugged touches. Don't have a pro lifestyle but want a softer off-road focused ride, more sidewall, and a rear locking diff? Pick up a TRD off-road package on an SR5 or Limited. There's also 3 different grades of luxury trims, 2 of which offer but don't force you to get the rear auto leveling air suspension and adaptive dampening. All these options are somewhat shocking to see on an SUV that will likely sell 10, maybe 15,000 a year. These different outfits allow the Sequoia to be up for whatever shenanigans you want to put it through, but will it endure life as well as the previous truck? Many people were understandably disappointed to see such a tried and true V8 be replaced with a twin-turbo V6 hybrid. However, it's important to remember this is Toyota. Yes, it's a smaller engine, and it will be under more stress when providing boost, but knowing the brand, I am sure they tested this thing rigorously. They want to retain their reliable reputation, and you can build a turbocharged engine to be robust. The hybrid systems in Toyotas tend to be very reliable as well, though expect a 12 to 15 year hybrid battery lifespan based on what I've heard from a Toyota service department on previous hybrids. Whenever this engine made its way to the Tundra, early models suffered failing electronic wastegate actuators. And outside of that, we just had little miscellaneous quality control things that are typical for a first year truck. So time is going to have to tell all in this case. I just wouldn't be too quick to slam Toyota for choosing this kind of powertrain. And at the very least, if it does cost more to maintain, you're compensating here by getting, 6 or 7 miles to the gallon better in combined driving. So now let's get to the negatives here. The first one is that they don't offer the standard turbo engine. And I kind of wish if they had to choose one powertrain that they went with the more simple turbo-only truck, though I'm sure a lot of you are going to disagree with me on that. Something that is objectively bad, though, is the ride quality. You feel most imperfections in the road, and it shudders over most breaks in the pavement, and this has the adaptive variable suspension. I had it in comfort mode. Maybe the TRD off-road will have softer ride that's better. That's just speculation on my part. And I really also wish they didn't get rid of that independent rear suspension, because that would also help this be more composed. That said, I do think that this handles well. The steering has got good feedback. Another big issue, or should I say small issue, is the cargo space. So having a solid rear axle and a battery back there makes the load floor pretty high. And the result is cargo space more akin to a Toyota 4Runner than a Chevy Tahoe. In fact, the 4Runner actually has more space with all the seats folded by a slim margin. Though at least they add in a shelving unit there to give you a floor that's as flat as possible. You also have a less than ideal amount of visibility, especially out of the somewhat small windshield. The end result is a truck that is both much better and worse than its predecessor. I still see this as a great full-size family hauler for the person who values quality off-road prowess and needs something that can satisfy their inner trucker and/or big towing needs. It also does that with more interior refinement, pizzazz, and third-row legroom than before. However, if Toyota's reputation for reliability isn't a big factor for you, others will likely be a better fit. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like to help me conquer the YouTube algorithm. If you want to see more, subscribe and hit the bell. And thank you to my loyal patrons. I'll catch you in the next one.